Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today's video is going to be about cheap everyday wear type of scents. In other words, fragrances that are easy to wear, that are versatile, that work pretty much all year round and that are cheap. And I've prepared a list of a total of 8 such fragrances. The first fragrance that I'm going to feature in today's video comes from the brand of Broca, and the fragrance itself is called Nexa Immortal. And this one is a sort of a fragrance that's done in a similar way to something like Parfum de Marly's Greenly. It's not a straight up clone of Greenly, but definitely done in a similar style. It's fruity, it's citrusy, it's fresh, a little bit, there's some greenness in here, some floral touches, some musk. There is a cedarwood note in here, all around a very masculine, very fresh and very easy to wear fragrance. As I said, similar to Greenly, not a clone, a straight up clone of Greenly, but done in a very similar style. Performance here is not fantastic, but again this is a fresh type of scent, so you should not expect a great performance out of it, but still at the same time it's not bad. I've been getting about 5 to 6 hours of performance out of this fragrance, which I think is okay, especially considering that this is a pretty cheap scent. The next fragrance that I'm going to feature in today's video comes from a sister brand to Broca that I showed you a minute ago. The brand is called Zimaya, and the fragrance is called Mazaaj Infused. Now both Broca and Zimaya are sub-brands of Afnan, for those who don't know, and Mazaaj Infused is a fragrance that's inspired by Louis Vuitton's Imagination. Again, not a straight up clone, this is done in a similar style to Imagination and costs about a tenth of the price of the original fragrance, maybe even less than that. It's very zingy, very fresh, with lots of citruses and a rolly note that gives this sort of a clean vibe. You get some ouds, you get some spices, there's lots of ambroxan, and there's one very strong main note, and that's the note of ginger, just like the original fragrance has. In order to enjoy this fragrance, you really need to like the note of ginger, because this is very heavy on the ginger note, very ginger forward type of scent, but I've actually been quite enjoying this one. Feels very clean, very fresh, and also has surprisingly good performance for this type of scent. I've been getting at least 7 hours of performance out of this fragrance with quite loud projection. The next fragrance that I'm going to feature in today's video comes from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and it's called Maitre de Blue. And looking at the bottle design, you can probably guess that this is similar to something like Bleu de Chanel, you know, any of the Bleu de Chanel fragrances from that line. This is a very interesting fragrance. It doesn't feel like a straight up clone of any of the Bleu de Chanel scents. It feels more like a mix between the EDP and the Parfum versions. It's darker than the EDT, darker than the EDP. A very interesting mix. It carries the Bleu de Chanel DNA, which is super versatile, super popular, super likable, and you know, very easy to wear. That also gets quite a lot of compliments. And I've been actually really enjoying Maitre de Blue. But I just want to mention something out of, you know, I've reviewed this fragrance previously, I've mentioned it in a few of my videos, but it seems that, you know, other people's experience with this fragrance seems to be divided straight up in the middle. Some people, like me, have really enjoyed this one and also have had really good performance out of this fragrance. I've been getting 7 to 8 hours out of this, maybe even longer than that. And there's quite a few of other people who have actually reported this to have a really poor performance. Now, I don't know what's the problem here, why that's the case, where it's batch variations or anything else, but at least my particular bottle of Maitre de Blue has been actually very surprisingly good performer, and all around the scent in here is really nice, and it's really cheap. And the next one again comes from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and this one is called Exposé Intense, and this is actually one of you know, those Maison Alhambra fragrances that are my personal favorites. This one is inspired by Montblanc's Legend Night. And if you're not familiar with the original fragrance, it's fruity, it's slightly fresh, there's you know, there's some spices in here, a cardamom note, I pick up a lavender note in here, there's a bit of greenness, feels quite aromatic. On the dry down you're introduced to some ambery sweetness. All around a very likable and easy to wear fragrance that, in my opinion at least, smells a little bit old school, carries a little bit of an old school vibe, and definitely has more of a mature factor. But again, very easy to wear fragrance that's very versatile and actually gets compliments. Performance here is decent, nothing spectacular, but not bad either. It's very cheap, and all around actually it's one of my better Maison Alhambra pickups. My next suggestion comes from the brand of Lattafa, and it's called Jasoor, and this one is heavily inspired by Valentino Uomo, Born in Roma Coral Fantasy. Pretty similar to the original fragrance, carries this very modern scent profile that feels fruity sweet. There's some spices, feels also quite aromatic. There's some leather, some tobacco, a little bit of a tonka bean note in here. Very likable, very easy to wear fragrance. Not one of my personal favorites, to be perfectly honest with you, but not the original and the Lattafa take on that scent. But I cannot deny the fact that it's a likable fragrance that actually works, and a lot of people actually enjoy it. Performance is decent, above average for sure. You get an interesting bottle design, and all around this is a good choice for those of you who are looking for an alternative to Valentino Uomo, Born in Roma Coral Fantasy. Jasoor from Lattafa. And another Lattafa suggestion in today's video is going to be Badee Al Oud Honor and Glory. And this one is a very interesting fragrance, one of my better Lattafa pickups from this year. Very unique scent, and actually a unique Lattafa creation that's not cloning anything else, which is an interesting fact. This is a fragrance that has quite a lot of fruity sweetness. There's a pineapple note in here that feels fresh and at the same time feels quite sweet. There's a very interesting creme brulee note that adds a really interesting dimension to the whole scent profile. There's some spiciness, you get a cinnamon note in here. There's some vanilla, some sandalwood, all around a very interesting and unique scent that's perfectly unisex in my opinion. Works pretty much all year round, maybe apart from the hottest months of the year. Has very decent performances, in fact is quite a good performer, comes nicely packaged, is very affordable, and all around is one of the more interesting and unique Lattafa creations. Now, I cannot do a versatile or an everyday, easy to wear everyday fragrance video without mentioning the Creed Aventus DNA, any of the clones of Creed Aventus, and this video won't be different. So I'm going to show you, my next suggestion is actually a fragrance that's heavily inspired by Creed Aventus. It comes from the brand of Khadlaj, and it's called Infini. Now there are two fragrances in this line, Infini and Infini Absolute, which I have over here. This one is closer though to the original fragrance. This is like a slightly smokier take on the original DNA. Some people compare it to the old smoky batches of Creed Aventus. It carries a very similar scent to the original fragrance, offers very decent performance, comes nicely packaged, and all around I think this is the cheapest Creed Aventus clone that I have in my collection, and I've been actually quite enjoying Infini from the house of Khadlaj. And my last suggestion will be from the brand of Afnan, and it carries one of those scents that are an absolute personal favorite of mine. The fragrance is called Turathi Blue, and this one is very heavily inspired by Bulgari's Tiger. Also feels quite similar to something like a Vibrato from Suspiro, although it's closer to Tiger. It's a very likable fragrance that relies very heavily on a juicy, sweet grapefruit note that has some other, citrusy notes in the opening that add even more freshness. You get quite a lot of woody notes. There's some spices. You get quite a bit of ambery sweetness in here. There's a bit of musk as well. All around a very versatile, very masculine, very easy to wear fragrance that just works all year round, and I absolutely love it. At this point I have quite a few Tiger clones in my collection, and I'm actually enjoying all of them. Performance here is very good for this type of scent. Projection is good, comes nicely packaged. You get the very high quality that you should expect from a brand like Afnan, and all around this is an absolutely fantastic fragrance in my opinion. My last suggestion in today's video, Turathi Blue from Afnan. And so guys, in today's video I tried to quickly go over 8 cheap, easy to wear everyday fragrances. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.